Welcome back to Access Anime. I'm Henshin Ikeda, and today I'll be doing a walkthrough and review of Codebreakers Episode 8. Now, if you remember from last episode, we see Sakura asking all the present Codebreakers to go over her house to stay there for the night, or at least to catch up on everything. Now, the only reason why she invites everyone over to her house is because one of the other Codebreakers points out that Ogami is probably an obvious choice on where they're probably going to hide next, so they probably know where his apartment's at. But I'm coming under the assumption that that's probably the stupidest decision ever, to go over Sakura's house, because if they could find Ogami, what's stopping anyone else from finding Sakura? But that's just me. That's my honest opinion. But moving on, we actually find out Hitomi hits Sakura's house. So all the Codebreakers are underneath one roof, and he decides he's going to attack and then kidnap Sakura. But why? We don't know. But then, after we see Sakura kind of absorb one of Hitomi's powers, we find out Yukihina has kidnapped the Prime Minister. So all of this was planned out. It was a ruse, just so the Prime Minister could be kidnapped by Yukihina. And then we see, obviously, Hitomi leaving the scene without being, even taken out or scratched. So I thought I'd point that out. But again, that was last episode, and this is a new episode, so let's dive right in. And again, I'll keep my final thoughts and my rating at the end of the clip, so stay tuned, but let's dive right in. Now, the opening scene is actually still at Sakura's house, which I like, so we're not really going anywhere different. We're still at Sakura's house. Now, we see Toki. He's not really showing any interest in saving the Prime Minister, because if you remember correctly, the Prime Minister is his father. Now, he leaves Sakura's house and basically tells everyone he has a date. It's nighttime, really, a date. Obviously that's BS, but again, he basically says he's got better things to do. He's got a date to go to. So again, that was his excuse. Now moving on, we see a red cat. And I thought, well, it's an adorable cat. Why is the cat talking? Now apparently this is Yuki's lost form. Now to be honest, for a lost form, that's kind of handy to have because you could actually still be a spy and still contribute something to Eden if they did ask you something, right? Plus, the cat can talk English, so, or whatever language you're watching it in. Depends, right? But anyway, sorry, I digress. So, Yuki's lost form is a cat. But again, that was the opening scene. But moving past that, we're actually taken to a little scene with Sakura's father, and he's checking on all of his men, because if you remember correctly, he's a Yakuza boss. So he's checking out all of his men to see if they're still okay, alive, checking the damages out. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, Musami does a little interesting scene where we find out a little more information about Hitomi. So Musami's actually talking about Hitomi, and I thought it was kind of interesting. He breaks down to talking about his ability. What's Musami's ability? Well, not Musami's ability in general, but Hitomi's ability, which obviously we know it's electricity, or electric in general, and he can control corpses, but that's to the extent of what he talks about, nothing that we didn't already know, so I thought that was kind of a waste of time. And then he also points out, yes, Hitomi is an ex-codebreaker, so that was, obvious. I mean, I'm just saying that's obvious. But we also find out he went missing 3 years ago. That's something we didn't know, but we don't know why. Why did he go missing 3 years ago? Now, it's obvious at this point in time that his former boss was the Prime Minister, so that's a dead giveaway. But we also find out he wants revenge. Because if you remember from last episode, he points out he wants revenge. I mean, Rohi picked it up right away. But that's what I don't understand. If you wanted revenge, why didn't you just kill the Prime Minister instead of just kidnapping him? Unless you want to interrogate him or use him as bait. That's the only other options I see him having, right? I mean, Yukihina came pretty close to killing him, and we find out he kidnaps him instead. I'm sorry, that's just not adding up properly. But moving on to a different scene, we see Toki. He went back to his school, so he's not really on a date. He just went back to the school, and he's looks like he's in front of a door that's locked, which I don't understand. Well, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the door was locked because I saw what looked like chains and a little key lock. But that's not really why he was there. He was at the school, at that locked room, apparently to see his sister. And you see a girl in the background say no one else is here, and you're wondering, okay, who is this girl? Well, it's Toki's sister. If you remember correctly, his sister is older than him, and she's kind of weirding me out right now because she has her memory back for a brief amount of time, and Toki picks up on that. But what I don't understand is, out of nowhere, she loses her memory and she reverts back to her I guess, normal self, technically. So I didn't really understand that. At first, she pets Toki on the head, and then vice versa. We do a little turnaround. Now that she doesn't have her memories anymore, he pats her on the head. So I'm missing how she lost her memory to begin with. But I digress, I'm sorry. But moving on, we're actually taken to a different scene where we see Ogami. He's overhearing Sakura's father and mother in a different room in Sakura's house. And basically her parents are saying it might be fate, and then they feared this may happen. We don't know really what they meant by that, but they're looking through a photo album. Now we can only obviously deduce that it's pictures of Sakura and, the family in general. At least that's what I understood, that's what they were doing. Now, as soon as the father and mother leave, you see Ogami actually walk in to pick up, this photo album to check it out. And he's, breezing through it, and he finds a couple pictures interesting. And then Sakura walks right in and says, "What are you doing?" "Oh, you're looking at the photo album." And then Ogami points out, "Why aren't there any pictures of you as a child, as a baby?" And then, this is interesting, Sakura points out, "I was adopted." Figures, right? I knew she was too good to be true. But it gets interesting. Moving along to the next scene. Now we see Sakura's father. She pulls Ogami aside, and now Ogami's inside of the house. And, well, he's actually with his wife. And they're trying to talk. Well, you see the father talking to Ogami, not so much the mother. And he's trying to explain Sakura's little secret, which I thought was kind of interesting. Pretty damn interesting, to be honest. Apparently Sakura was actually found at their gate, unconscious, with blood all over her, but she was unharmed. And I was like, okay, that's not only not normal, but why? Like, who dropped her off? She wasn't adopted like normally, like you'd go to adoption agency. She was just found abandoned with blood on her, but she was unharmed at his gate. And then somehow she's now afraid, not of blood, but of people dying. So that's why she always wants to save people that Ogami wants to kill. So that kind of makes sense. I'm just putting that out there. We're taken to a different scene where we see Rohi and Yuki actually talking. And again, Yuki is still in his cat form, which again, so adorable. And I love seeing him talk. I'm just putting that out there. Sorry, I digress. Now, apparently, we found a little more information about the connection between Rohi and Hitomi. But before I go any further, we do get to hear a little more background story about Rohi. Now, apparently, when she was young, she lost her family in an accident. But we don't get to see the accident or know what happened or when that was exactly. There wasn't a lot of clarity there. But what we do find out is that she does regret living, like surviving. She regrets surviving it. And I find that kind of odd because, I believe her parents or whoever she was with would want her to live on, but she has all this guilt built up. And I thought, well, Rohi's got a lot of issues. That's all I can say. But we do find out that she was very close to Hitomi. That's kind of the only hint we know about her closeness. I don't know anything beyond that. And what's weird is I hear the word prince throughout this episode. I have no idea if all these codebreakers are referring to Rohi as a male or not, as a prince, or if they're talking about someone else, so I was kind of confused there. But that was just me. I'm just a little confused, but I'm sure if I check Wiki out and see what other people have to say, I might get a little more clarity on that. But sorry, I digress. Moving on, now we're taken to a different scene with Masami, and it is morning, by the way. It is morning. And he's trying to tell all the codebreakers, as well as Sakura, which, since she's there overhearing everything, they need to split up and look for Hitomi and the Prime Minister in general. I mean, that makes sense, right? So we are taken to a different scene. Now, it's interesting. We're back in the school, and we're taken to I point this out, the language laboratory. I've never heard that before. But we see a couple different teachers. Now, we do see Miss Kanda in general. She's there. She's the first one that's actually inside that we can recognize. We see 2 female teachers and 2 male teachers. We don't know what their names are. They were never introduced. And they're talking about Sakura and she's being the rare breed and how they didn't expect her to be this strong. And now I'm wondering, are they from Eden? We don't know. We really don't know. It is not clarified who these people are and what organization they're with. But we can deduce that they're probably from Eden in general. I'm just putting that out there. At least that's my assumption. Moving past that, we find out more information that they don't trust Miss Kanda. Well, at least at that time, before what they know now. But they assume that Miss Kanda was talking to Hitomi. Now, I said that. Now, a little clarity on that even more. We find out apparently Miss Kanda used to be Hitomi's subordinate, but not anymore. She's Ogami's subordinate. And they do ask, if the time comes, are you prepared to kill him? And she replies, yes. But again, it does kind of stun me that Miss Kanda really was not in the loop about Sakura being, a rare breed, which again, we don't know what the heck they mean by that. But again, we can deduce that she probably has some type of codebreaker ability or cancellation power. you know, something along those lines. Now we are taken to a different scene with Musami, and apparently Musami is trying to make sense out of everything, and he says the words, "I get it now, Ace." I have no idea what he means by that. Who the heck is Ace? But again, he says, "I get it now, Ace." I don't know what that means, but moving on to a different scene. Now it is most definitely a WTF moment. We see Rohi and Musami. They're on a bridge, like they just opposite sides of a bridge. One's on one side, one's on the next side, and they're talking. And we see Rohi. She basically is telling Musami, "I can't believe you were this careless to have all the codebreakers underneath one roof. You're never this careless." So she's now starting to suspect that Musami is no longer longer trustworthy. Something has to be up. And then Musami out of nowhere says, "Oh, you're smarter than you look." I was like, bam, he is a bad guy. I so called it. I knew he was shady. And it gets even better. He says the words, "Let's illusion." I guess that's part of his powers he has. And I guess he was about to strike Rohi, but before anything can happen, we see the bridge being blown up in the background, and we know it's not Rohi, it's not Musami. We do not know who the heck has attacked. It was random. I thought we were about to see Rohi versus Musami, but no. It caught me off guard there. Now again, in the background we see a building being exploded, and we don't know who took that out. Now while all this is going on, we do see Yuki in the background. He's still in his cat form, and he sees the bridge being blown up, but we don't know by who. But that's all we really know about Yuki on what he knows. Now, apparently we hear Musami actually say the words, "Hitomi's plan begins." And I have no idea what he means by that, but at least we now know what side Musami's on. He's on Hitomi's side. But moving past that, we do see, I'm pausing there because I'm trying to remember this part, but apparently it looks like Musami takes out Rohi, but we don't know. That's just it. We don't get to see the fight. But the way it comes out, it looks like he actually took out Rohi. I'm just putting that out there. It does, in fact, look like he took, Rohi out. But we don't know. We are taken to a different scene. We see Sakura. She's walking down an alley looking for Ogami, or at least it looks like she's trying to. And, we see Musami appear. So just by seeing Musami kind of leads to the conclusion that he probably took out, Rohi, or beat her in general. But again, that's the best conclusion we can come up with since we didn't see the battle or that little fight in general. Now, he does tell Sakura that Ogami's looking for her and that he'd help her find him in general. Like, he's at the base in general, or he's at an XYZ location. So we see Sakura actually believing him, follows him into a blank building, and he comes up with the conclusion, call it a base. She's thinking this is a codebreaker headquarters or a base. I was like, wow, I thought you were the smart one. No, after seeing her in this scene, it makes me think she's that gullible. After she believes she's been accepted into this codebreaker circle of secrecy. Yeah, this isn't Cloak and Daggers, you're just plain stupid. Just putting that out there. But moving on. Now we do see, we are in the building. It looks like this abandoned building, and we see clocks everywhere on a wall. Now that is, to me, very screwed up to see that many clocks on a wall. Now we do see the Prime Minister, he's all tied up, and then we draw the conclusion, okay, this is a setup. This isn't a codebreaker headquarters if the Prime Minister's tied up. And I thought this was even more interesting, literally really interesting, where we see Hitomi on the couch, and we see Musami kind of hiding him at first, and then calling him Ace. So apparently Hitomi is Ace, and we see Musami telling Ace, or Hitomi in this little clip, I guess he's got Sakura as a hostage, but he's making an offering to Hitomi so he can join. We don't know why he's doing this, but he says, "You'll now allow me to join, right? So am I in? Am I in the group, the party?" I have no idea what he meant by that. But apparently beforehand he really wasn't part of Hitomi's group, but now because he has Sakura as an offering and she's becoming a hostage now, that he's part of the group. And again, that was the ending of the episode. Final thoughts? Okay, what did Musami mean by "this is my offering, Sakura is my offering, she's now the hostage"? I thought you were already a villain to begin with. This episode clearly defines him as one of the villains. So is he part of Hitomi's little group? We don't really know. And Ogami, where are you? How could you not see this coming? And Toki, I'm still kind of drawing a little blank conclusion on your sister. Is she in a total lost state 24/7, or are those like little memory gaps she has, like the loss of memory, some type of punishment that the Prime Minister's organization called Eden did to her, we don't really know. We draw so many conclusions on that one. Now, Hitomi, we don't really know why you kidnapped, the Prime Minister. You should have just killed him when you had the chance, but again, we could draw up millions of conclusions on why. Does he have information about something? Are you trying to get in deep with the Eden organization? Because we know nothing about Eden. Are you trying to take the organization down? Do you have a grudge against them? Again, we don't know. And I should point out, Rohi, we don't know if you're alive or dead, so if I see you in the next episode, no shocker there, because we didn't see the little fight against Masami, so definitely make a comeback, because I actually liked your character. But again, that ends it for my final thoughts. Moving on to my rating, I can definitely say I can't give this a 4 out of 5, because we didn't even get to see any fight scenes. We got to see a lot of information, or not see, but overhear. So I'm going to draw the conclusion from all of this information in the next episode that everything's going to combine together and we get to see everything. But again, this was all information. There really wasn't a lot of emotional attachments other than seeing Sakura's family, her father and mother, basically making the statement, she'll always be our daughter. But, and the family photo album was really cute in general, and seeing Yuki as a cat, wow. But I can't honestly give this a 4 out of 5 because I did not see the battle scenes, and it just didn't move me enough. So I have to give this a 3.5 out of 5. But it definitely a lot to look forward to in next episode. But again, my final rating is 3.5 out of 5. Again, that ends it for my walkthrough and review of Codebreakers Episode 8. Definitely comment down below, thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe above, and let me know what you thought of this episode, and let me know what you think is going to happen in the next episode that's coming up. And again, check me out on Twitter and follow me if you like. But again, that ends it for now. I do not have any more walkthroughs and reviews to do for the rest of the day, so definitely stay tuned for Thursday for Naruto Shippuden. But again, that ends it for now, and before I go, I gotta say it, can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.